Welcome to How We Met. I'm Sheryl Strich, and every month I interview two couples from Laguna Woods who tell their story about how they met. Today up, we have Joe Meyer and Ed Foster. Both Joe and Ed are members of the Rainbow Club. They're both members of the Old Pros and Theater Guild. Joe's the performer, while Ed is the audience. Joe volunteers at Saddleback Hospital as a compassionate listener, and you may have seen him at the PAC where he occasionally ushers. Joe and Ed, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
You know, every month I ask the same three questions, so I'm very consistent. Where are you guys from?
I'm from New York originally.
Okay.
And I'm from a rural area of Indiana called Delaware County.
Okay. How long have you been a couple?
Well, we've been together 48 years, and in January it'll be 49.
You agree?
Yes, and we have been legally married for the last 11 years.
Nice. Okay. And last question, how long have you been in Laguna Woods?
12 years.
Yes, we moved here after I took an early retirement. We moved to our place in Palm Springs. And then when it was too hot in the summer and we got tired of RVing to get away, we found out about Laguna Woods and we moved.
So that's what you did? You lived in Palm Springs during the season and then
Yeah,
you
then
RV'd?
we would RV during the summertime. He couldn't take the heat so
Who
much.
could?
Yeah. We came out of a restaurant and the next thing I know, he's on the pavement and I'm standing.
Could never take the heat, believe it or not. Even as a child I couldn't, for some reason. I'd go pew, pew.
It's 100 degrees in Palm Springs.
I went out one morning, it was 123,
Gee.
and I went right back in.
You have to carry the dog.
Right.
Because they can't go on the pavement,
That's
it'll
right.
burn their paws.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into business.
Yes.
All right.
How did you meet?
Well, we met actually through friends. I was kind of busy in my career at that time, and I had very little time to go out and meet people.
What was your career?
I was working in a theater in New York City. I did the promotion for the theater. I was fortunate to be hired for that job, and it was the luckiest break I had had. And we met, and I said, I don't have time for this. He's not my type, blah, 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 blah. And so I just discounted it. And 2 weeks later, my phone rings at the theater, and he says, are you ever going to call me? And I said, who in the hell is this? I had no
Great
idea.
beginning.
Yeah. And so he said, let's go out. And I said, oh, okay. And we went out and had dinner, and we sat and talked for hours. He was nothing like I thought. And we've been together ever since.
And I don't want to give him a big head, but I knew immediately when I met him, I was attracted to him. So.
Hence he pursued.
Two different stories.
Yes.
And I just want to tell people at home, people who are watching this always see people on a couch, but because we have people with back issues, we thought the kindest thing to do would be to be on these chairs. Not our usual setup.
And it's appreciated, thank you.
Just in case we got in a fight, you could separate us.
Right, easily.
Very good.
So where did you end up? I mean, you were in New York, but
Well, we lived together in New York for possibly 11 years.
Something like that.
And at that point, I had already decided theater was not going to work for our life together.
did you ever perform?
Oh, yeah, on several different venues in New York.
Nice.
I was lucky.
Yeah.
Right place, right time. And then I decided I wanted to, the only other thing I ever wanted to do was be in the airline industry. And because the travel and the flying.
Oh.
And I went back to NYU and got certified in travel and tourism. And then I started in the airline business with Sir Freddie Laker back in the early days of travel to England.
I'm not familiar with that.
He had the first low-cost airline across the Atlantic. And so I was fortunate, and I worked there and became director of sales. And that led into careers in sales and other areas throughout the rest of my career.
So how long were you in the airline industry?
Until I retired.
So you got to travel a lot.
I traveled all the time.
Both of you.
he couldn't. He
Okay.
was a school teacher.
Oh.
He had gone back to school
Yeah.
and became a teacher.
So I had a business degree, and then when we moved to Miami, I decided to get my teaching credentials, and I went and got my master's in education, and I taught for 20 years in an inner city school in Miami, and elementary school, and it was very rewarding. It really was.
What year was this?
Oh gosh,
Was
I'm
this
so
in the
bad with that.
60s or 70s?
Oh, no.
It's F70s into the 80s.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there was no problem in terms of people accepting you.
I was very fortunate. The parents were absolutely lovely to me. They protected me actually in the neighborhood. And I hate to say this, but all the other teachers had their cars broken into in the parking lot. No one ever did mine.
Nice.
Because, I think they knew that I was there for the good,
Yeah.
not just for the money.
Right.
And it was reflected in the way they treated me. It was very nice, very good feeling.
Right. So while you were in Miami teaching, you were
I was all over the world.
Yeah, he was trotting all over the place.
I would call him from the Canary Islands or wherever I was at the time.
Was it for work or was it for
Yes,
pleasure?
I was director of sales for North America, so I had a global position, and we had our meetings all over the world. I worked for a global reservation system,
Got it.
and it was a conglomeration of Lufthansa, Air France, and Iberia. So our offices were in France, in Germany, and in Spain, but we were global.
Right.
So I had the North American operation of sales
Right,
under me,
right.
and each continent had their own group. It's the largest reservation system on the globe today.
So,
And when he would come home from his traveling, I would say to him, Joe, take off your director's hat. I'm not one of your employees.
Oh, I had a list for it.
I guess it was good you were traveling time off. That's always good.
We tried to always have time off together in the summer.
Right.
Sometimes, but that always didn't work out.
Oh yeah, because you had summer off.
But he taught during the summer many times.
Yeah, I did.
Because I was never
Since he
there.
was traveling,
Right.
so I did summer school.
Okay. Okay.
And he would say to me at times, because I would be talking to him and I'd say, you're not listening. And he'd say, all right, now you take off your teacher's hat.
So do you get any deals on traveling now?
I could, but it's such a nightmare to do it. We buy tickets.
Oh, you'd have to travel standby, wouldn't you?
Oh, well, I don't know. When I traveled for the company, I was always on positive space, airline positive space, which meant as long as there was no one with more money or seniority than you were on the flight. So I never had to worry about standby.
Okay.
And so when it came time to travel, thank God we could afford to travel,
Right.
so we did it
Right.
like anyone else would.
I tried to stand by once on his
Yeah.
pass, and it was so nerve-wracking that it was like, this isn't for me.
I don't think it would be for me either. I want to know.
I want to know when
Right.
I'm going.
Just like I want to know where my seat is. Going on Southwest is a little nerve-wracking
I've
at
flown
times.
backwards on Southwest a few times.
But it works, so
Yeah.
it's cool. So what are you guys up to now? You're not traveling at all at this point.
No.
Joe, are you taking any trips?
I haven't. We've been together a very long time, and when one person is ill and can't travel, it would kind of break my heart
Yeah.
to travel and come back and say, "Oh, guess what I did?"
Right.
So I pretty much stay in the area. I have the Theater Guild, Old Pros. I have all of these activities I do outside of our relationship. It's hard for me to leave him alone too
Right.
much.
Actually, when you were on my show, Tales from the Woods,
Right.
I can't believe I couldn't remember the name of it. You guys went on a cruise.
Yes, well, cruises we do still, because,
Out of Long Beach,
Oh, okay.
LA, because I can't fly anymore.
and he
Right.
can't really ride in a car much more than about 30
So-
minutes.
Right.
Yeah, we go in and back to LA.
So whatever they offer out of that, we
Well,
try to
the
take
cruise is
advantage
perfect
of.
because when I don't feel well, I
Right.
can stay in the room.
Right,
And other than that, I don't, I enjoy it.
right, right.
The little that I can do.
And I love sitting on the deck reading, so that works.
Are you still involved? You are still involved with Saddleback, right?
Yes, I still take classes at Saddleback, and I volunteer at
The hospital. Right,
Yeah.
right. A funny thing, we were talking about it before, was when you saw one of the actors on Tales from the Woods.
Yes.
When you were working, you stopped in, and there she is, all stroked out.
She did have a stroke.
And there you are.
And 1 month later, I had one. So it was like we were relatives in strokes at that point.
We were a little concerned that who else was it going to hit on Tales from the Woods?
That's when I broke my ankle, if you remember, and I had the boot on, and you would hide my
Right.
boot.
Right, right. I had to do all kinds of things to protect your boot so nobody could see it. The funny things we have to do when we're in charge of something,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Well, listen, guys, it's really been a pleasure having you on.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming on. I get a kick out of you all the time.
He can't kick anymore, so I don't have to deal
So
with
I'm
that.
fortunate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you'd like to come on to the show, email us at lwvcouples@gmail.com. Include your name, phone number, and email address, and brief description of your story.